What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back. It's Force here from Force Strategy Gaming, and it is time, you guessed it, for some more StarCraft 2 commentary. Now, today's series is going to be between TSL's Killer and Dignitas SjoW. We are on the map Terminus here in the far right position, the 3 o'clock spawn location, Dignitas SjoW as our red Terran player, and then over in the 9 o'clock, the far left-turn position, TSL Killer as the blue Protoss. So yes, Protoss versus Terran, Killer versus SjoW, game number 1 here on the map Terminus. You can see, of course, Killer, it is now time for him to drop his pylon and head out for some scouting information. Certainly want to get scouting sooner than later, especially on such a large map. The big advantage for Killer is that he is able to do a bunch of worker harass if he gets into SjoW's base relatively early, and possibly even if it's slightly, he may possibly delay the building of the barracks. So, what's coming up while we're waiting for things to get underway? Well, next week is BlizzCon, and that is exciting indeed. I cannot wait. I will be there. If you are attending, please feel free to come say hello to myself. If you don't know what I look like, there are a few videos that have my face on it, so just take a look through my archives and see if you can find one that is of that. I'll probably do at least a few videos as well beforehand, just talking about my preparation for the trip. I'm actually going to be going a few days prior to BlizzCon, and I'll be hanging out at the offices of Machinima, hanging out with the cool folks there, and we'll just be doing some promotional stuff for the upcoming BlizzCon, and I'm probably making a few videos with them as well, so that's pretty exciting. And actually, yeah, there we go, finally scouting them out. So I'm excited for BlizzCon. I cannot wait. StarCraft 2, Diablo 3, I'll be taking a look at everything, and hopefully I'll get to meet some of you guys. That would be pretty awesome. Right now, Killer moving right into SjoW's base just as that Rax is about to finish and deciding actually to not even bother with any harass. He's checking the gas, and he's seeing a decisive lack of any refineries. Now, this, of course, tips Killer off to the fact that SjoW is going for a 1-Rax expand build. So now he knows. Now, as a result, I do expect Killer to just go 1 gate expand, knowing the fact that he's dealing with a 1-Rax expand. That seems like a likely response. It's either that or try to like 5 gate him or something, 4 or 5 gate him or something crazy, just some crazy early aggression. But that's a little dangerous, especially with mass repairing SCVs, and 1 or 2 bunkers could actually thwart something like that. So I do expect Killer to kind of go the safe route and instead to just decide to go for that 1 gate expand. And actually, interestingly enough, SjoW deciding to drop the deciding to actually start building that command center at the natural as opposed to over here, and he is doing this because he's coming out the bunker. My only concern was that early game Stalker harass could delay this expansion even if you had Marines out, because Stalkers aren't very strong against Marines. But coming out with the bunker pretty much ensures the fact that SjoW is going to be pretty well defended against early game harass, which is one of the main reasons you'll see players start to build a expansion inside of their main as a Terran player. It's simply because you're worried about early harass delaying that expansion, killing off the SCV, you not having enough forces to deal with it. But again, with this bunker, he is adequately prepared. We've got 1 Zealot making his way across the map, SCV grabbing this Zelnaga tower. Back over here, TSL's Killer doing as I expected, coming out with a 1 gate into expand. So here comes the Nexus there at the natural expansion. It will, of course, be a little bit delayed. It will be a little bit behind what SjoW's expansion timing will be, but no big deal. He's still pretty much on par with him. No major incidents have happened so far in the game. We will have that 1 Zealot just scouting out. TSL Killer needs to make sure he pays attention to the Zealot. There we go, actually pulling back with it right now. It only takes a moment for SjoW to hop out of that bunker with those Marines and be close enough within range to actually snipe down that Zealot. But the Zealot instead decided to grab the Zelnaga tower, and look at this Stalker chasing down the SCV, but the SCV, does he get the information he needed? Yes, he does. SjoW's SCV with that secondary scouting managing to spot the Nexus. That would have been beautiful if Killer could have stopped that from happening, but unfortunately that Stalker was not quick enough in the killing off of that SCV. Now the follow-up here will be 2 additional gateways, and then we expect a robotics as well. That robotics should be coming out shortly, so that way we will be seeing SjoW come out with an observer to get some scouting information, just to take a look at what the transition of SjoW is. Killer wants to find out what SjoW is doing. Now what do we expect? Well, we of course expect bio plus medevacs. I mean, that is what Terran players do against Protoss, because that is what is very effective. Also working your way up into going for some ghost for some of that late game play as well. Sniping, EMPs, all sorts of wonderful action. Now we do have that Stalker Scout, did a pretty decent job, actually pulled back right as his shields got low. Very dangerously close, but Killer, luckily keeping an eye on his minimap, was able to spot the fact that those Marines were trying to chase down the Stalker, and then just pull back a little bit, let his shields recharge a bit more, and look at that. there's the robotics. So 3-gate robo is the follow-up to that 1-gate expand in this TVP matchup, in this PVT matchup. I'll flip that around, and it's just kind of a safe response to what we're seeing SjoW come with. Now SjoW, interestingly enough, no factory yet. He is planning a bio timing push. That is what we will be seeing from SjoW. I'm expecting to see that at the very least. We can see that stim pack and the level 1 upgrade research coming on through right now for SjoW. He's not preparing that transition into medevacs quite as of yet, and he may be starting to get that factory sometime soon, but at the moment he is just focused on churning out this bio. Now we got a couple stalkers trying to work down those back rocks, and it looks like the bio will be pushing forward, however, without concussive shell, with that one marauder not actually able to chase down those stalkers. The robotics now finished. Here comes that first observer. That will probably be chrono boosted out and actually dropping down the bay immediately after. So opening up with that observer for the scouting, the bay immediately after, and we're seeing that Colossus transition. So all of this feels comfortable, feels standard. This is kind of this type of stuff that we expect in this matchup. Nothing, again, too unorthodox has happened so far in the game. Nothing too crazy. We can finally see that factory coming out right now for SjoW. So he is going to be working his way, of course, up into the higher tech, allowing him to get that starport to start churning out those double medevacs. We can also see SjoW preparing his 3rd expansion, and he is doing that inside of his main base, and then likely to see that transferred over here once that is turned into an orbital command. There goes that first observer across the map. Stalkers heading their way back home, and also Killer preparing his 3rd expansion. Now, these types of macro games, especially in cross-positional spawn locations on this map, very popular, very frequently occurring, simply because it's such a huge map, and that 3rd is just so tempting. I mean, look, you've got your natural expansion, a little ramp, and right here into your 3rd. I mean, everything's nice and tight, everything's nice and packed together. It makes it much more easy for a player to defend their 3rd expansion from any harass. So that's exactly why a lot of times you will see fast 3rds on this map. Now, as we can see over here, we've got a couple Marauders moving forward to grab that tower, and I am hoping to see that push. It looks like he didn't decide to move out with the timing push again, instead deciding to keep macroing up, working his way into that reactor starport as well as that expansion. Here's that 3rd over here for Killer as we expected, and again working his way up into Colossus. Now what do we have for numbers right now? Numbers. We've got 1 Colossus just popping, 2nd Colossus coming through, level 1 armor upgrade coming out as well for TSL Killer. Got some Marines fanning out over there, 2 Marauders over there, and a Marine checking over here. So right now, what we're seeing is SjoW checking the fringes of the map, all those kind of random expansions. He wants to see if Killer's trying to hide anything fancy, basically. He wants to see, did Killer try to hide a 3rd expansion or a 4th expansion somewhere? Because if you scout out a hidden expansion far away from the main and the natural, very easy. It would be very easy for SjoW to just drop a 1 medevac filled with the Marines on that and quickly take it out, if not force a cancel if it was still building. Bio numbers starting to get their way worked up. Still more and more Marines and Marauders. Combat shield almost finished. There goes that concussive shell. Level 1 armor upgrade coming on through. He's already got the level 1 weapons. So as we can see in terms of upgrades, Killer is slightly behind right now, but that is because he decided to go quickly into that Colossus tech. We might be seeing a push right now from SjoW. He is working his way across the map. No Zell Naga Towers right now in control for Killer. Now, Killer does know this push is coming, though. With his Observer Scout, he was situated right over the bulk of the bio, and realizing that it's not there is cause for concern. So, here we go. Bio moving forward. Now, my major concern right now for SjoW is the fact that we've got 2 Colossus and a 3rd one just about to pop, and he has got 0 Vikings. Now, it's going to really depend on Killer's micro, able to keep those Colossus in the back, and look at that SjoW already pulling back, spotting those heavy Colossus numbers. He's got 2 Vikings in production, none in play at the moment. We can see, of course, that Mobius reactor, so we're going to be seeing some Ghost play. Ghost not out yet, but they are coming. One medevac just actually being loaded up. That's going to head on over into this direction. Those medevacs, I don't know what they're doing. Just a little bit of a misrally, I'm assuming. More and more upgrades. Charge upgrade coming out. Level 2 armor, level 1 weapons just about to finish here for Killer. That expansion will be actually taking the back route over here, and he is preparing to drop right over here onto that 3rd. That expansion, I meant that drop, is preparing to drop right on that 3rd. We've got more drops prepared over here, so SjoW, 2-prong drop. I love to see this. Hold off on the medevac, please, sir. Going a little bit too early. Wish he would have waited just a moment longer. That would have allowed this drop to be very effective inside of the main. In fact, only being able to drop a few units before that medevac gets denied, and that's forced to push back. I find it much more effective if you can drop both at once. But look at that Killer just all over the map right now, fully prepared for these drops, and SjoW was not able, unfortunately, to do any damage whatsoever there. So first attempt at dropping unsuccessful for SjoW. SjoW does, however, have up this 4th expansion. You can see that is getting turned into a planetary fortress. Orbital command over here at the 3rd. And now coming out with Ghost and that Viking transition to deal with those Colossus. At the same time, Killer preparing to push out across the map. Will he be grabbing the tower and then attempting to move into his 4th? Or will he plan to push onto SjoW's 4th? I'm not sure if he knows about this expansion or not. Looks like the answer to that question is no. So right now, Killer does not know about SjoW's expansion over there at the in the center of the map with that planetary fortress. He's still really focused on defending his expansions there from any drop harass. You can see this one medevac still over here. That's going to run into a whole heap of problems from that small grouping of units. And here we go right now, Killer himself moving to the center of the map and getting his 4th expansion. So far, macro play, and that is it. I really have a feeling that this game might come down to just one large engagement. As always, I do not pre-screen the games, but that's just kind of the general sense I'm getting. Things could happen, though. I don't know. Hopefully, there'll be a ton of harass out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, people will start going crazy expo harassing intensity. I don't know. But anyways, the point is, right now, both players working into their 4th expansions, macroing up lots and lots of upgrades. Weapons level 2, armor level 3 here for Killer. SjoW sitting at 1-1 right now. He's got weapons level 2 coming out. He's also getting some upgrades, of course, for his air units. This will allow those Vikings to be much more effective against those Colossus, and just pumping out the Bio and Ghost as well. So we're obviously at some point, we can already see, working their way up to 200 supply cap. In fact, SjoW sitting at it right now. We're going to see a large engagement, and depending on micro, depending on how that engagement plays out, it could certainly be a deciding factor in how this game ends up going. So right now, a couple of stimmed up units will be checking the tower over here. They'll be walking right into that Protoss Death Ball. And ooh, very tenuous situation here. Vikings leading the way, prepared to try to snipe any Colossus. Blank Stalkers a little too early. The Vikings were able to pull back quite easily. We'll be taking that free Zealot kill right there, also trying to, of course, deny the vision of the Protoss player by that Zelnaga tower. Still have this medevac over here, so that may come into play at some point. A couple of stim bio units pushing forward, getting roasted there by that Colossus. No response here from the Protoss player, no kind of drop harass or anything fancy like that, no TT. So both players just sitting with the bulk of their army, and again, really not a lot for SjoW to do because he is supply capped, so it's really, he's focused on this engagement and trying to be as effective as possible. Ghost should be leading the way to land those EMPs. Once this does come through, we are seeing that Psystorm come out. Does he have any High Templar? Yes, he's got 6. Where are they? They're back there in the corner, and I believe that scan should have caught the fringe of them. Yes, he should be able to see those High Templar right there in the corner. So at least he knows what he's up against. He knows to prepare to deal with feedbacks, and he wants to try to land those snipes and or EMPs before those feedbacks do go through. And both players, again, my gosh, just sitting here idly. Got a couple of stim bio units pushing on over there, decided to pull back as they see those Colossus from TSL's Killer, and here comes the push moving forward, and the EMPs get landed right here on the bulk of the Protoss army. As you can see over here, we've got another expansion coming out. TSL Killer moving down in the 6 o'clock. We also have an expansion coming over here for SjoW. SjoW also getting up 2 additional command centers, preparing to spread those out throughout the map and try to get that economic advantage. At this point in the game, with both players at supply cap, they're just going to keep upgrading and trying to get up their expansions to try to get an economic advantage for after the battle. They're really thinking about after this upcoming battle at the moment. So we're going to see a few of the bio units, again, try to taunt out Killer, try to push those Colossus towards those Vikings and the EMPs of those Ghosts. But you can see right now Killer not taking the bait, deciding to pull all the way back, and he'll be taking a free expansion kill. This should be forcing the cancel here for SjoW's expansion. SjoW really doesn't have a choice. There's the cancel, getting back 300 resources, and now both players just going to their respective corners. Oh my gosh. If you like macro-heavy games, you're having a great time right now. If you like action, I'm sorry. Again, it's just been macro, upgrades. Level 3, in fact, finally starting to work his way into shields, and this is something you rarely see in Protoss games. The shield level 1 upgrade is coming on through. We're starting to see some cannons. Here's a drop over here. Finally, that medevac comes into play, and it looks like it was quite effective, killing off a total of 5 workers so far in this game. SjoW managed to deny some mining over here as well, forced to pull back with his workers. We're seeing, again, that huge Protoss army, lots of Colossus, a bunch of charged Zealots in there as well. We've got some Archons in play, still sitting with 7 High Templar to allow for some feedbacks and stuff. And look at this right now. We're getting to the point in the game that SjoW is sacrificing SCVs to free up supply to get more offensive units. And he is sacrificing a lot of SCVs. Oh my gosh, I want to take a look at how many he's going to have after this. He's throwing away these SCVs in just a moment, and there we go. You know what? Killer's like, hey man, I will take it. I will take your SCVs to the bank. We've got 65 probes as opposed to 55 SCVs, and here comes the engagement right now. TSL Killer's going to try to capitalize on this moment. laying down a couple of storms. Here come those ghosts landing down those EMPs as well. Very nice EMPs, taking out, I believe, almost all of those High Templar. No, there are still 6. Maybe they just got warped in. I believe that's what happened. We got a few of those sitting back over here. Lots and lots of damage here to this bio, unfortunately. The Zealots and Colossus. Nice mix of that Protoss Death Ball sitting over here. So many ghosts in play. We actually have 14 ghosts in play. Some nuking will be coming through for defensive nukes. Some massive EMPs should be going down. Oh my god, no! No! He was a little slow on the response with those ghosts. He took massive damage before he was able to land any EMPs. Some huge storms going down as well from Killer. Killer is doing a fantastic job, but here come the Vikings now sniping down the Colossus, and then the bio is going to be moving in after those Colossus are very low on health and low on numbers. So here comes the bio. A few more Vikings are still in play. We still got some ghosts over there as well. Killer able to pull back though before he lost too many more of his units. Very interesting engagement, very difficult to tell. But as you can see, Dignitas SjoW significantly behind in terms of resources lost so far. I mean, yes, he threw away some SCVs and all of that, but now we're finally starting to see what we're going to be seeing here from the Ghost is probably some defensive nuking, although this one looks to be moving on the offensive. And yes, he is, in fact, unfortunately walking right by that cannon. Here's another push now coming down from the Protoss player, moving in with the charge. Stim going down on the bio, trapped in the corner, though that is not a good spot for the bio because here comes the massive storms laying down, and Killer looking to be in a phenomenal spot right now. He will be taking out this expansion. SjoW does not have the firepower to push this back before it drops the Expo, and there you go. See you later. I think that Ghost got taken out before it was able to do anything whatsoever. SjoW losing this expansion. Devastating, devastating indeed. He is finally working his way on up to those 3-3 upgrades. Killer's already sitting at it. And taking out that expansion was absolutely huge for him, and it doesn't look like SjoW is going to be able to pay back the favor. He's got a fair amount of bile there, but we're seeing Killer pull back to reinforcements. Those Archons going to be very strong in this engagement here. The Archons just continuing to push forward. Concussive Shell, of course, does not slow them up because they are massive units, and that is threatening to that clumped up bio. Some more storms going on. Killer dominating so far in these engagements. He is in a phenomenal position. He's going to start to lay waste to these production buildings. There's the defensive nuke. I expect Killer to push back probably into the corner. Is he going to drop that Rax first? Is he going to pull himself into the trap? Or what is he doing? Does he even see this? Well, I guess not. So here comes the nuke on top of all of Killer's forces. That's unfortunate. SjoW turning the tide a little bit there, landing the nuke on all of Killer's forces. I cannot believe that he did not see that. I am assuming the second that he heard the nuke drop, he immediately did this. Gotta check my expos, gotta check my expos, gotta check my expos. And as a result, wasn't paying attention to the bulk of his army, and that was a very, very cost-effective nuke for SjoW. He's got more expansions prepared to get dropped down, and he's going to be doing just that very thing right now. Taking a look at the income, I expect Killer to be ahead, and he is significantly ahead. Now, even with that successful nuke, Killer is still in a strong position. Killer still unbelievably ahead of Dignitas SjoW at the moment in terms of resources lost. So all is not lost for Killer, even though that was a pretty massive blunder. Again, I'm assuming the second that he heard the nuke, he immediately checked every single one of his expansions that were mining just to make sure that it wasn't going down there. Probably also checking his production buildings as well, because that can be a little devastating. Also, if you've got a big group up of pylons, nukes will just they will just wreak havoc on a big group of pylons. But although we're seeing Killer spread them out. So anyways, that's enough about that. No more speculation as to why he missed that nuke on the bulk of his army, but it happened. Still though, Killer's in a strong position. In fact, look at that. I didn't even bother taking a look at the army supply. Significant lead right now for Killer, and I am, in all honesty, not certain that even with that great nuke, that SjoW is going to be able to get back in the game. I mean, that helped him a little bit, but I'm feeling like he is just way too far behind. Things have been going in Killer's favor for far too long. SjoW hasn't been able to respond in terms of the vast amounts of economic damage that Killer's been able to do, and that's going to really, I believe, lead to his demise. I mean, you can see so far Killer's killed off so many workers. Parts of those are sacrificial, but here we go, another engagement. Those charged zealots just overpowering the bio, and this is where you start to see the 200 supply as opposed to the 70 supply really come into play. SjoW has got no choice but to call the GG. Alright guys, that was game number 1 here between Killer and SjoW, and what a doozy macro game indeed. Unfortunately for SjoW, he was not able to keep up with the heavy damage that Killer was able to do to him, and Killer just vastly out-muscling him and proving to be much more in a much stronger spot after all of those large engagements, ended up taking the victory quite easily. Alright guys, thank you for watching. That was game number 1. Again, moving on to game number 2 in just one moment. If you like the content, please subscribe. Thanks again. Keep watching and keep owning.